Welcome to the Southeast by Southwest podcast, a podcast exploring Asian food, New Mexico, and how the two have influenced each other. It's an honor to have our first guest on the podcast. She is a grower, a dreamer, a business professional, and a pioneer in Asian food in New Mexico. Jenn is the owner of MiYoung's farm, a farm and business that specializes in kimchi products and naturally grown vegetables. If you were a patron of the Santa Fe Farmers Market during pre-COVID times, you might remember her flipping kimchi pancakes or waxing poetic about the joys of kimchi with a customer. Jenn's energy is vibrant and dynamic, and it was exactly this type of energy that led her to become the first licensed producer of kimchi in New Mexico, which was a hard-fought battle, as you will hear, that earned her the right, and others the right, to produce kimchi in New Mexico. Talking with her, it's clear that everything she does is a labor of love, and I was able to see this firsthand when I went out to her farm. Jenn and I sat just a few yards from the vegetables that she grows, and she shared with me the story of just how she got here.
Born and raised in Seoul till I was 6, and then I moved to San Francisco and grew up there. Spent my childhood in San Francisco, and have been here in New Mexico for 20 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
What brought you here originally?
I think I grew up in the city proper, and I was just not recognizing the city I grew up in anymore. It was big time of the .com boom in Silicon Valley, and it was just getting overrun, and gentrification, like super deep and heavy in parts of neighborhoods I grew up in, and it was just getting to be too much city for me.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about your backgrounds or your history with food and how you kind of got into this line of work.
I love eating. I'll start there.
It's a good start.
Yeah. And I've always loved cooking. I love being in the kitchen. I worked for a catering company for a handful of years, and the executive chef, she really took me under her wing, and I would help out in the kitchen. And I really learned so much from her, and I think that's what really sparked this true love of cooking and just being in the kitchen that I really have. And then farming happened, and just trying to creatively figure out how we were going to make a place for ourselves in a place like the Santa Fe Farmers Market, where for generations people have been there, and decades. And
a wise person once wrote, "The path to kimchi never did run smooth," or something like that. Jenn talked to me a little bit about her path to kimchi in New Mexico, and it did not run smooth. Here she narrates her experience.
So I started 10 years ago, and it was pretty challenging back then. It took me 3 years. Admittingly, I walked away from the whole process of trying to get my paperwork through with the Environment Department I think there was a period when I just hit a wall and was so frustrated I had to walk away for a few months. But no one had been doing it, so they didn't know what it really was. They'd heard of it, so I got a lot of the, "Hey, don't you stick it in the ground? Like, isn't it, like, buried in the ground?" Like, yes and no. I mean, yes, that's how it's done traditionally, but we don't have to do it that way.
Right.
Like, I can make it clean and safe. And it was a lot of educating on both parts. Like, for me, it was a lot of learning the pH levels they were looking for, so it taught me a great deal about the scientific process of fermentation. But by taste, smell, sound, all the things, the senses, I already knew how to make kimchi,
Mm-hmm.
So it was a matter of trying to tie the two together and really getting them to understand that this is a very safe process. At one point, they even had me do a refrigerated fermentation process, which took me 8 times the amount of time that it did just at room temperature.
Wow.
It took me 22 days versus like 3 days, right? 3 days.
Yeah.
And so I try to explain that to them from the beginning. I was like, if you want this to be done in the refrigerator, it's never going to work, because I'll tell you why. The temperatures, it just doesn't work. The fermentation process can't happen fast enough. So I did it anyway, resubmitted my paperwork, and then it was denied because they said it took too long.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I was like, I know, remember we talked about this? And then you said do it anyway? And then I did. So it was a lot of that sort of thing. It was kimchi is a foreign word, like when salsa first came out, because that's a foreign word. It was just challenging on so many levels. But I think because I believed in it so much, and I felt like I knew that there was such a strong desire for more diverse foods, while respecting this beautiful New Mexican culture. I just wanted to be able to introduce some of my culture,
Yeah. So how's the response been from the community?
It has been amazing. It's been amazing. I feel so blessed. Like, I think if in those first 3 years, business people I was meeting with, the environment department, like, if I really just let those voices dictate what I was going to then do about this, I wouldn't be making kimchi right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because I love eating it, I love cooking with it, I just want other people to do it and experience it and need it, I just stuck with it. And, I have anywhere from old Korean War vets who come up and say this tastes like what they had in Korea back in the day, to, like really young, like sweet folks who come in, just the whole gamut, like the whole spectrum of people. Like locals who were born and raised here and like, I don't know what that is, but I'll try it, and they fall in love with it and come back to market, every couple of weeks, and like, I love this stuff. Don't stop making it. It's just, it's so encouraging, and it's full circle because I really believed in it, and it was something that was so hard to get off the ground. But the community response I've been getting over the years is just, reaffirming of why I'm doing this. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is so awesome to hear.
Yeah, do it for my community.
Yeah. Well, so I know from talking to you earlier, there's 2 aspects of what you do. There's the farming aspect and the production aspect. And so I just want to, on the production side, I know you have a much beloved kimchi pancake. Can you tell me a little bit about the origins of the kimchi pancake?
Yeah, sure. So my whole process, kimchi I learned to make growing up from my mom, but she also did things in that way of born in the 40s, growing up, kind of going away from traditions and kind of modernizing, I guess you would say, like throw a little MSG in there, put a little sugar to speed up the fermentation process. I've taken the process and then taken things like MSG, sugar out. So my whole thing is as basic ingredients as possible, as local, sustainable as possible, and keep it simple, right? The vegetables, the produce, the things, the product, it will speak for itself if you can just highlight them, right? So no MSG, no sugar in any of my stuff. Fish sauce I use, make sure it's just anchovies and salt, no sugar. So kimchi pancakes. Beloved kimchi pancake that people know, very thick, made with eggs, flour, all the things. Wanted to bring a new I didn't want it to be like a one-trick pony at the farmer's market. Here's kimchi, great, I'm done. So I just thought, how can I keep moving forward with this? And then, there are very specific rules.
It didn't take me long to realize that Jenn puts a lot of intention and consideration behind what she does. And so I asked her about the values that drive her business.
Yeah, so local, sustainable as much as I can is the idea. I've had customers ask if I ship, and I've given them my business cards, but reluctantly, knowing that I probably won't ship. Because the amount of packaging and the things that just gross me out so bad, like I would have to do to get like 1 jar of kimchi to these customers. So
yeah,
I just tell them to come back. And I'm just trying to keep it as local as possible. But yeah, so I try to grow as much as I can. I source from local farms. I've been able to, because I now live down in Albuquerque, I've been building slowly up a community of farmers down there. So I have farmers up here in the northern New Mexico parts, and kind of down in Albuquerque's South Valley areas trying to grow some stuff for me.
And where do you see your own farm and growing project sort of heading from here out?
I had this really crazy vision one day. I just was looking out at the field, and a couple of my girlfriends were out helping me, and I just thought, not in any way, shape, or form man-hating, but just really during this time uplifting and empowering women. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd love to, from the ground up, see my vision be all women. Farmers, at the market, in the kitchen, delivery driving, like in the office, like all of it. It would be amazing just to kind of feel that sense of empowerment for women.
Yeah.
But, really that's way, way down the road. But right now I just feel blessed for what I get to do, which is what I love, growing food and turning it into kimchi. Pretty
right
damn
on.
lucky, yeah.
Right on. Yeah. And so how has being in this state influenced the way you do things and conceptualize like products and stuff?
I think I mentioned, when I first came here and was trying to do the kimchi thing, it was never with any sort of intention to step on the culture here in any way, shape, or form.
Sure.
But to help enhance, right? So it's why I brought kimchi, right? There's so many farmers growing beautiful tomatoes, carrots, cucumbers, all those things, but nobody's doing kimchi. Like, how can I help to enhance this already beautiful market?
Right.
So that's just kind of has always been my goal. And I always look to nature for ideas. So our sunsets here are amazing, right? Just spectacular.
Totally.
And so one day I was just looking, and I just thought, man, that pink and green is so damn pretty. And I've had customers ask me, like, when are you going to do something with green chili? I'm like, oh my God, you have green chili everywhere already.
True.
And then I thought, well, okay, but green chili is so delicious.
Also true.
So I had these beautiful purple daikon radish. And I thought, yes, pink and green. Right?
Yeah.
That's really, it wasn't even a taste thing, more so much as it was a visual I was going for.
That's so cool.
Right? I was like, I want to make it pretty. So it was a pink and green thing. And so I came up with a purple daikon green chili kimchi, and I can almost guarantee that nobody's making it and selling it, right?
Right.
Because it's very New Mexico specific.
Yeah.
And I've had customers who pass by from California. They're like, I have never seen this. What's going on over here? I'm like, yeah, it's my ode to New Mexico, right? So not trying to step on, but enhance and highlight our culture here and bring it together.
Yeah.
So a little bit of the Korean, a little bit of the New Mexican. So we have my daikon green chili kimchi that's been actually rising to the top as like my bestseller these days.
Man.
It's like a spicy pickle, and people have been going bananas over it. So
I can't wait to try that. Yeah. Well, so kind of while we're on that subject, do you want to let our listeners know where they can find your stuff?
Sure. Santa Fe Farmers Market is my true blue. Like, I'm always there every Saturday. The Albuquerque Rail Yards Market on Sundays. They've been doing curbside pickup, but they are starting to open up next month. They're going to start opening up, and so I will be there also, but you can order online. New Mexico Harvest carries my stuff, but Song Dog Farm, which is down in Albuquerque in the North Valley, they run a CSA, and they are Sundays from 10 to 4, I believe, and they have my kimchi there. And then you can always just email me, look me up, MiYoung's Farm. Yeah, I will probably meet you in person
Cool.
to deliver it.
Cool.
So, yeah.
At one point, of course, our conversation took a turn toward running a food business during a global pandemic, and Jenn offered a surprisingly hopeful perspective on the situation.
I think there's definitely a side, it's been hard, but also it's been a time of coming up with new inspiration and visions, and I think that's so inspiring. And I think if we can all just pull together, keep pulling together along those lines, everybody's gonna be good, you know?
Yeah.
Just pull together.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been feeling a lot of community.
I love that perspective of this being a time to go inward for more inspiration, to find our inspiration and reconnect with that kind of spark right now. Yeah. Cool. Well, Jenn, I really appreciate you willing to be a guest on our first season.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm really stoked about what you're doing, and can't wait to get a hold of some of that radish green chili kimchi as well. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Derek.
So after we finished recording, and Jenn had handed me this enormous box of vegetables to take home, including, by the way, the most beautiful purple daikon I've ever seen, I asked her about something that I'd been wondering about for a while. Can I use red chili in my kimchi? Well, Jenn said that she has done it and she thought it was wonderful. And she talked about how it changes the character and adds this smoky flavor. And I was really relieved because, full disclosure, I have been doing that for a long time. I just didn't know if it was offensive to change one of what I kind of think to be the fundamental ingredients of true kimchi. It definitely produces a different flavor than Korean gochugaru chili flake. But I've grown to love it, and also the idea that I can do everything locally is just very exciting to me. And, perhaps it's more of a pursuit of authenticity from a local perspective. Just doing the best we can with what we've got to create the flavors that we love. I think that's the story of how food evolves as it moves around the world. And it is such an inspiration to see how people are doing it here in New Mexico. Our next guest is someone who follows in the trail that Jenn blazed. John Katrinak is the chef-owner of Subak Seoul Bowl in Albuquerque. John and his crew are bringing incredible Korean food, including an array of kimchis, to the local food scene. I talked to John about his life, kimchi, of course, and his thoughts on living and working in New Mexico.
Sure. So kind of like Subak just started, I would say. I actually used to live in Santa Fe. So I used to be the manager of the Borders on the south side on Zaffarano, and worked at the San Busco one. And I know I had a love for food growing up just as a kid, Korean food. It's all about community, it's all about family. So, when I go home to eat, it's 20 of us eating all together at one time. My mother living at the house for like 2 or 3 years with us. So I would come home from middle school and she would have, 10 to 20 new dishes, Korean dishes made every day. So I got to, and then she would, tend to the garden in the back. So that's kind of the love affair with food. And with Korean food is just really just trying to present what I grew up eating to people. So Subak started tentatively, like when I lived in Santa Fe, I had like an underground kimchi business just out of my house, and I would like kind of like sell it to my friends. And my my wife at the time, worked at Counterculture, and so she knew a lot of people. So we got to like sell to some of her customers, and then I moved to Albuquerque in 2011. Then kind of started the whole like food trucks kind of scene. So worked on a food truck in 2012, kind of get to lay out, and just really saw that there wasn't really good Korean food in Albuquerque or New Mexico. So kind of wanted to bring that to the forefront. So off the food truck, we made 3 different kimchis to kind of start. So we made the traditional kind of like Napa cabbage, and then Korean radish, which is called gakdugi, which is kind of like the cubed Korean radish. And then we did like a fresh cucumber, which is, you know, the flavors I got is basically when I traveled to Korea for the first time, spent some time. My mom grew up on a farm with like 8, 9 brothers and sisters. So we tended to all that they tended to all that stuff. So, you know, getting to taste how like my great aunt made cucumber kimchi, fresh from the fields with like the nira leaf and all that stuff, kind of like set that off. So that's, you know, kind of the flavors that we were going for. We opened the restaurant last year. So we opened in June of last year. We got to kind of expand that because a lot of people, when they think of kimchis, you know, they just really know Napa cabbage. They don't really know that basically we're just pickling everything. And kind of like the original kimchi, what my aunt calls it is farm kimchi. It's basically just take a radish, like a whole daikon radish, Korean radish, and you just throw it in with salts and water, and you know, you kind of just let it go that way. So, and then we also use kind of you know, we use like at the restaurant do a soy pickle, which is a pickled chayote squash. So it's like a native southwestern squash that we pickle with soy sauce, vinegar, local apple juice, and fish sauce with onions and jalapenos. And then we get to do kind of like more interesting things, like we have like a spicy squid where we rehydrate dried squid and mix it with pepper paste and gochujang and sesame oil, so kind of like give people, you know, different flavors and different textures, because that's the biggest thing for Asian cuisine, is just like we're okay eating those different textures. So it's kind of like making that American palate you know, more used to it, or just, you know, showing what's out there.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. So the origins, just so I'm getting this right, the origins of Subak are in your underground kimchi business in Santa Fe? That's where it all kind of started?
That's kind of where it all started. Like, I always wanted to have like a restaurant, so like the food truck was kind of like the first stepping stone. But just like anything, like I said earlier, it's, you know, it's about creating that meal from home, trying to bring that, you know, Korean countryside cooking to the masses.
Right. Well, and that's what's exciting about what I see just with the food scene in general, is people are trying to get, you know, back to the real flavor. You know, a lot of chefs are trying to get back to that real flavor, and I really appreciate that you have that background from your mom. Your mom was a first generation immigrant?
Yeah, so my dad met my mom in Seoul. He was in the service. She came over, I want to say in like the late 70s. So my sister was born in 79. And then, yeah, she brought, now I have like 2 aunts and an uncle that live like within like 5 miles of my parents' house. So yeah, so when we get together, it's like a big, you know, it's a nice Korean feast, and you know, lots of cousins, nieces and nephews, and all that stuff. So.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the community response to the restaurant.
The community response has been great. You know, we definitely had a following from the food truck days and kind of doing more community sponsored events like Tasty Tuesday, which I think is now just kind of more of a Tasty Tuesday to go, but it's basically like a food truck event with 5 different food trucks at Hyder Park, which is a local park here in North Hill. But we would have free yoga, free music. Just kind of got the following from doing that, from doing the brewery scene as well. So yeah, it's been really great. Of course, with all the restrictions and the pandemic going on, we kind of had to basically revert back to being a food truck. It's just like a bigger food truck at the restaurant now. Luckily for us, we were able to get like the city grant, so we actually put it in a patio and opened it this past weekend. So we're looking forward to like our first full weekend of outdoor dining. We have a beautiful spot in Knott Hill. It actually overlooks like the Sandia Mountains, so you can see the sunset on the mountains like at nighttime from the patio, and just trying to do that, do what's safe for like the best of us and for the community and to protect the community.
Right. Yeah, and I know everyone's managing that in their own way right now. It's a bit of a dance, for restaurateurs, especially. Wondering a little bit about your, because you're in New Mexico, and I know that you have a background here, but you've chosen to stay and work in New Mexico. Has that at all influenced how you conceptualize any of the food you make? I know you mentioned the squash pickle, which sounds amazing.
Yeah, so the squash pickle, we do like my favorite like New Mexican dish is, anything with green chili, right? So green chili chicken enchiladas, chili cheese fries. So we actually have a Korean chili cheese fries at the restaurant.
Whoa.
So, New Mexico green chili, normal kind of cheese fry setup, and then we add either our bulgogi beef, which is kind of like a soy sesame flavored, or we do sauteed mushrooms, which is kind of that same flavor profile on top. And then we actually use a local organic red dandelion kimchi.
Oh, wow.
So this bitterness from the dandelion kind of cuts through all the richness of it. We have different signature bowls that we have as well. Of our bibimbops, which is basically a rice bowl, mixed rice bowl. One of them is a New Mexican bowl, so it has green chili, lime, comes with an egg because New Mexicans, we love to put eggs on everything.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely fun. We do weekend specials, so we get to like kind of have fun with those. So a couple of the past ones, we did a goat cheese green chili relleno.
Oh wow!
And we did the week before we did a local San Ana Pueblo blue corn green chili corn dog.
Oh wow!
So like the regular menu is definitely standard. People have been coming for years for kind of those same kind of items. But the weekend specials allow us to kind of just have some more fun, go with what's in season and things like that.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds really awesome. And I appreciate how you guys can have that opportunity to reach a little bit and be a little bit more creative with, that conversation with what's local,
No, exactly. Yeah. And it kind of like helps, during the pandemic, I know like a lot of chefs, we're kind of like in the mundane of just producing the same food. So kind of like to let, our creativity show and to like, get some more inspiration and get, I guess more, excitement about what we're doing because, these times are definitely, trying and difficult. But anything that allows us to, express what we're put on this earth to do, which is to like feed people and serve people, and then connect with our local growers. It's an amazing opportunity.
Right. Well, so tell me a little bit about that. Like, how are you? How does that collaboration with the local growing scene go for you guys?
It's actually been growing pretty well. So we try to buy as locally as possible. We support local carnicerias, local tortillerias. We found like probably the best tortillas that I think in the city. I spent 6 months before we actually opened the food truck eating corn tortillas across the city. So Tortilla Cuauhtémoc, which is on Bridge here in Albuquerque, which is really tasty, thick corn.
Mm-hmm.
We also just teamed up with Burke Bakehouse. So they're a local bakery in Albuquerque, and they're doing using our Napa kimchi and their kimchi and egg Danish. So it's a croissant Danish with gochujang cream cheese, a sunny side up egg, and then our Napa Catholic kimchi. And it's really good, really phenomenal. I love all the stuff that they do. So yeah. I guess they just contacted me today. I guess the first batch sold really well, so they're going to actually re-up on it. So we're totally excited to have them as a partner.
I noticed that on Instagram, and it looked ridiculous. Have you ever heard of anything like that before? A Danish that includes kimchi?
Like, I know they did it like a couple years ago, so they were using like New Mexico ferments kimchi at the time. So,
right.
And I knew them, so I was like a little bummed they didn't use our kimchi, but I'm kind of glad they brought it back, and
nice.
Ours now.
For sure. Yeah. Wow, that's really cool. So, you spoke to this a little bit, and it's one of the reasons why I really enjoy interviewing chefs, because, you all tend to be very generous-hearted people, and it's about the people you serve, right? It's about the guests and the customers. I'm curious
exactly.
For you, I'm curious what it is, what are the core values that drive what it is you bring into the community?
So basically, our mission statement as a company is basically we're just trying to recreate, a meal in the Korean countryside. So we do that in different ways. We have, different key points. Environmental responsibility, we use compostable material. We got away from plastic single-use stuff. I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago. So kind of that focus, just making the space open for everyone, to where everyone feels welcome. For me personally, I take, kind of that Hindu approach to enlightenment, where it's service to others, where you want everyone to feel like, their family. And you want, food has a great way to break down barriers and to make people feel comfortable and to bring people together. And, that's what our main goal is, to kind of bring everyone together, bring the community together. Pre-COVID, we teamed up with Bowen Creative, who's our graphic design firm. But we started Second Sunday in Nob Hill, which is basically like a Nob Hill art walk. So we had 20 different businesses participating on the second Sunday, to where you can walk around up and down Nob Hill, up and down Central, and visit different art openings. Here we had art openings. We also had DJs. My friends, the Clean Plate Club, like they got to DJ.
Nice.
So our kind of big first one was Summerfest. So we had 20 different vendors in our parking lot. Kind of like the big show.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Kind of just give space, just hold space for artisans and local artists. Just showcase like their talents, as well as the space that we have.
That is awesome. Yeah, and like a lot of good restaurants that I've had the pleasure to meet with, your place just emits that vibe of having just like another healthy spot in the community. Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah.
To come together and enjoy the food. Well, I think that it's really exciting what you're doing. One of the things I want to do with this podcast is break the misconception that there's no good Asian food in New Mexico, because I get that a lot, and it's a lot of the time it's just a matter of knowing where to look and where the people are doing it,
Right.
So, I'm more than happy to send people your way. On that note, would you mind sharing with our listeners where they can find you and your stuff?
Yeah, definitely. So our address is 111 Hermosa Drive Southeast, in historic Nob Hill. We are open 11 to 8 Monday through Thursday, 11 to 9 Friday and Saturday, and 12 to 7 on Sunday. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, Happy Cow, which is like a vegan website. So we're vegan friendly, veggie friendly. And our website is subakfoods.com. And yeah.
Nice. And quickly on the kimchi, is that available for purchase separately as well?
Yeah, so we make 8 different kimchis in-house. They're all available to purchase. Sides, we also do a banchan plate. Banchan basically just means small dishes in Korea. So if you ever go to like a Korean barbecue where they roll out that cart with like 20 different side dishes. So we have that option. We also sell larger jars. So we sell 30-ounce jars of our kimchi as well to take home.
Nice. Okay. Excellent. Well, I can't wait to get down and try your stuff. I'll definitely let you know when I'm on my way. All right, John. Well, hey, I really appreciate your time and your willingness to be on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for being there. Yeah.
So there you have it. Jenn Yi and John Katrinak. Both very important players in the story of kimchi in New Mexico. If you're looking for truly great kimchi and authentic Korean flavor, you need look no further than these two, and I highly encourage you to seek them out and try their delicious food. After doing research, I found that a number of kimchi producers have followed in Jenn's footsteps of producing kimchi in New Mexico. New Mexico ferments, which you might have heard John mention as the first producers to put their kimchi into a Danish, produces a Napa cabbage kimchi alongside their kombucha and other fermented products. Also, if you're in Albuquerque, I highly recommend you check out Nom Nom on Wheels, a food truck that pops up almost nightly in the city. You can find them on Instagram at Nom Nom on Wheels, that's NOMNOM on Wheels, to track them down. Chef Nom, the chef owner, makes a delicious, bright, and tangy green chili kimchi that is extremely versatile and goes on almost anything from burgers to tacos to straight tortilla chips eaten like salsa, which is something that we did when we brought it home. I made several attempts to interview Chef Nom about this, but his food is so in demand that we simply couldn't find a time to talk, though I didn't want to end this episode without mentioning him. So, I hope that you've enjoyed joining me on this journey through kimchi in New Mexico, from its beginnings until present day. If you like what you've heard, give us a good review, and join us next time when we'll be exploring another facet in the world of Asian food, New Mexico, and the relationship they share. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.